Thank you very much, Commissioner Rodney. The next item on this opening ceremony is your President's Welcome Address, the President's Welcome Address, and a brief introduction of our keynote speaker, President Colin John, Commissioner of Police, Sentencing.
Good morning, colleagues. First of all, let me apologize for my absence yesterday. I was called to deal with some issues as regards the state, some equally important issues, so hence I was absent. I just want to take this opportunity to, first of all, thank Commissioner Foster for what I know is an excellent job that he performed in my absence. I also want to thank my colleagues for, first of all, taking time from their very busy schedule to attend this meeting. Thank our sponsors as well for continuing to put their resources into the Association of Caribbean Commissioners. I know that there are a lot of competing causes, and I know that your money could have been utilized elsewhere, but you chose to channel it in the direction of the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police. And I just want to say a heartfelt thanks to you. I look forward to your continued cooperation and your continued support. This year was an extremely challenging year, not least because of the COVID situation. We have seen a lot of emerging issues. In a lot of cases, we had to pursue issues, or we had to deal with issues that we had not dealt with before. For instance, we had to, police officers, we had to be a part of the COVID enforcement apparatus of the state. Police officers and Coast Guard officers, we had to ensure that our borders are not only safe because of drug trafficking and human smuggling and gun smuggling, but because of persons who may try to enter because their borders were closed. So these are some of the things that we had to deal with. We have dealt with them generally efficiently, and I just want to thank the members of the RSS team for facilitating this process. We cannot really pay for the services that you have performed, that you have rendered to the Caribbean, and not only the RSS member state, but other Caribbean states. And I just want to use this forum to say thanks to the RSS for sterling performance that they have done for the member states of the Caribbean forces. I also want to say that this COVID situation provided us with opportunities. While we could not have traveled physically, we did that virtually. We had undertook a lot of training, and coming to mind is the CARICOM impacts. They facilitated a lot of that training, and I just want to thank Sir Jones and his team for the hard work and for facilitating this process. This training also was facilitated, was made possible by the fact that we had several pieces of instrument that was donated by the US, the CBSI Connect, and we saw the ad there, and it was very useful. It is very relevant in this time. And I just want to really express our appreciation to the government of the United States of America for assisting us to make our borders safer, make our countries a safer place. I know that we have a long way ahead, and I look forward to the participation and the discussion from members who are present here. So I just want to say thanks once again for attending, and we look forward for a fruitful conference. Thank you, and God bless you. At this time as well, I just want to introduce the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the latest Prime Minister to be re-elected, the Prime Minister who was elected for the 5th consecutive term. This is testimony that the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has confidence that he is doing a very good job. He is well known throughout the region. He has delivered lectures regionally and internationally. Prime Minister Gonzalez, he has been in politics for in excess of 40 years. You know. Yeah, he has been Prime Minister for in excess, well, he has been in politics for in excess of 40 years. I'm talking about going back to his time at university. And I know that he will not disappoint us today during this presentation. So I want to introduce a person who, as Commissioner Foster said, doesn't need a lot of introduction. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and my boss, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez.
Thank you very much, Commissioner John. The next person up is Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, and I know he's online as we speak. Dr. Ralph Gonzalez.
Blue, it's on blue here now. Huh?
Dr. Gonzalez, I think we're hearing you and we're hearing your secretary.
Are you hearing me now? Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
Thank you very much.
And you're free to speak as soon as you are ready. We are ready for you.
I am ready. First of all, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to have a conversation, a brief conversation with you. I note that you have put aside 15 minutes for me to speak with you, and I wouldn't want to loiter on these premises because as law enforcement officers, you may pick me up for illegal loitering. I want to recognize all the esteemed commissioners of police, the security chiefs and heads of military organizations, and other specially invited guests. I heard part of the commissioner's welcome, that is to say, Commissioner Colin John. And I wouldn't want to repeat anything which I heard him say, because I accept all what I heard him say, insofar as it refers to the context and our circumstances in the region from a security standpoint. And I adopt what he said and call my own. It is a fact, and we all have to state it, that law enforcement in the current situation is even more problematic, because with the COVID pandemic, we have had 4 interlocking elements in this monumental challenge. The health, the obvious one, the economic, the social, including education, and security. And in the early period of this pandemic, there was an almost hysterical focus on one dimension, that is to say, the health. But as time has gone on, we have seen the interconnected matter of the economic, the social, and security. I must say that not because I have any particular prescience, but as early as March 25th, when I addressed the nation here in St. Vincent and Grenadines, I had identified these four interlocking dimensions of this monumental problem, which is facing us, and we have to live with it for quite a while until we get the vaccine and it's available to everybody, so that we can, and hopefully it's effective without the side effects. But the immediate context, economic context, is stark in relation to the figures. You can look them up yourself. As I say, I'm having a conversation. I'm not having what you call a traditional keynote address. If you look at the World Economic Outlook report for the International Monetary Fund for October, these numbers would have been crunched in September. You can find it. You can find the World Economic Outlook online. And in every CARICOM country, we have seen contraction in the economy, some very large and some modest, but all contractions, save and except Guyana. And the numbers tell it a real awful tale. In Antigua and Barbuda, the predicted drop in GDP, gross domestic product, for this year is 17%. I'm just rounding the numbers. Bahamas, 15% minus. Barbados, 12%. All these are contractions. Dominica, 9%. Though the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank thinks Dominica is going to be a little worse than 9%. Grenada, 12%. Guyana, plus 26%. The export of oil and some gold and their strength in agriculture and fisheries. Those commodities have helped Guyana. Haiti, minus 4%. Jamaica, minus 9%. St. Kitts Nevis, minus 19%. St. Lucia, 17%. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, minus 7%. Though since then, they have revised their numbers for St. Vincent and the Grenadines to 4.2% down. Suriname, 13%, and Trinidad and Tobago, 6%. Across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, smaller countries in the CARICOM, the average decline of the macroeconomy is 16%. I mean, it's a veritable bloodbath. And that is the context in which we have to live, and in the context in which we have to have people protected in terms of security. Now, our major source markets are creating challenges for us: the United States, Canada, Europe, in respect of persons who are coming as tourists or visitors returning home. Not many tourists come in. Monumental declines in arrivals, but the 51,814 COVID cases in CARICOM since, the number I'm quoting here is December the 1st. The bulk of those have been imported or import related. There are some countries, of course, with community spread. And by and large, we, in terms of deaths, we have done in some countries very well, and in others moderately well. If we look at the deaths, in Anguilla, there was none. Antigua, Barbuda, 4. Bahamas, 163. Barbados, 7. Belize, 148. the Grenada 0, Guyana 151, Haiti 233, Jamaica 258, Montserrat 1, St. Kitts 0, St. Lucia 2, St. Vincent and Grenadines 0, Suriname 117, and Trinidad 120, giving a grand total of 1,204 as of the 1st of December. It was a couple of days ago. So from the standpoint of the health, we have managed it reasonably well across the CARICOM region. But in order for us to do so, the security forces have had to help us a great deal, and including our international agencies and regional agencies, like, for instance, the RSS. And I want to join the commissioner in thanking the RSS for the tremendous work. And of course, other agencies like CAFA. Now, what we are having from a security standpoint is that we are having a lot of, we are having in some places, in some cases, and nearby to us, and Trinidad has it worse, the problem of illegal migration from Venezuela, but not Venezuela alone. And I noticed the government of Trinidad and Tobago has made a very good statement, a media release dated the 27th of November on illegal crossings from Venezuela, where the government of Trinidad and Tobago properly acknowledges its humanitarian efforts to facilitate over 16,000 migrants to live from Venezuela to live and work in Trinidad. But of course, there's a flagrant disregard for Trinidad's borders and many of our other countries' borders by drug runners, gun runners, human traffickers, and others linked to organized crime in South America, and specifically by mercenaries who contribute to the exploitation of women and children and profit directly from the facilitation of illegal crossings. There are persons on boats from Venezuela, even going to ambushing fishermen legitimately about their business. We have had problems like that in St. Vincent, in our own, with Vincentian fishermen. We have had the same thing in St. Lucia, Grenada, and the like. Of course, we are coordinated with the Coast Guard and all the rest, but in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have about 11,000 square nautical miles of seascape. And it's not easy for us to police that area, and we have to cooperate in that regard. And I'm very grateful that we are doing so through the RSS and through impacts, and our international partners are also helping us. In this particular period too, we are seeing a lot of the picking up, not just of human trafficking, but we've seen a lot of internet crimes. And our police forces have to be better able. I know it's not an easy matter, but we have to cooperate better on this issue. And we have to insist that the international agencies help us better in this matter, including persons in the United States, including authorities in the United States. I want to say that, I mean, the Interpol meeting is coming up shortly. It was to be held in the General Assembly. It was to be held in November, but it's now for this month. There's a matter I want to raise, you know, and I accept that the People's Republic of China doing useful work in Interpol, but I don't see how we can, with conscience, and with a sense of humanity, continue to stop Taiwan from being an observer to participate in Interpol meetings. I mean, after all, Taiwan is the 21st largest economy. They're the 18th largest exporter in the world, and they're situated at a strategic location between Northeast and Southeast Asia. And nearly 100 million people visit that country every year. And by keeping them out, just like when they keep them out of the World Health Assembly, you really, this is an international issue, and we have to involve everybody, because in excluding some countries or a country like Taiwan, I mean, it undermines the global endeavor in fighting terrorism, illicit drugs, human trafficking, telecommunications fraud, cybercrime, and other new forms of transnational crime. And that is something which, whether you have relations with mainland China or not, the People's Republic of China, is something I think reasonably we have to try and urge, at least let the Taiwanese have observer status. We have to lift also collaboration among ourselves, even while we are doing so with international partners and stakeholders in areas of intelligence gathering, intelligence sharing, mutual legal assistance, extraditions, and the like. And while we are calling on the police and the security forces to help us with all of these modern forms of criminal activities and challenges arising with health pandemics, and it's not going to get better with climate change. And we are on the Security Council. We have raised this issue. November, we were the chair. We held the presidency of the United Nations Security Council. As you know, we're the smallest country ever to have been elected to the Security Council of the United Nations. And we had a very special session on what we call contemporary drivers of insecurity. And climate change, for instance, is a contemporary driver of insecurity. We just finished the hurricane season officially, and there were security challenges attendant upon the storms which we have had, the landslides, and so on and so forth, and in some cases droughts. It's increasingly a very difficult world to police, and we have to adapt, otherwise we are going to become dinosaurs. Similarly, in addition to climate change being a contemporary driver of insecurity, the pandemics we must emphasize over and over. And climate change is also connected to the pandemics. For instance, dengue in several countries in the Caribbean, from the north right down to the south, including us. Because when you have unusual, unseasonal rainfall, it creates the breeding ground for the mosquito. It affects the police, the health of the police officers, but also in actually policing the country, it becomes more difficult. And resources have to be diverted. Already in a situation where we see a decline in the economy, people losing their jobs, and across the region, except for one or two countries, we see tremendous decline in revenues. St. Vincent and Grenadines is the only one, for instance, only country in the OECS, where our revenues have gone up 5.5% since, or central government revenues, since, I mean, the first 10 months of this year compared to the first 10 months of last year. But in a lot of places, the revenues are down 10, 15, 20, 30%. Now, this is real difficult stuff. And even in where our revenues went up a little, our expenditure increased by over 1/5, which means that the extent of our deficit widens, which increases the debts of the country and makes it more difficult to provide monies for other purposes. But we have to provide money also, increase resources for security. It's a real challenge and vortex, which means that we have to spend our money more sensibly. We have to be more creative. And I want to say this as the last thing. Look, before we provide jobs, before we provide anything in the hospital for medicine or school supplies, our first obligation of the state is to protect its citizens. And that's why the police and the military are on the front line. That's the first obligation of the state. Because if we don't have order, if we don't have the rule of law, life is going to be Hobbesian, nasty, brutish, and short. And we wouldn't be able to have any economic activity. We wouldn't be able to fight COVID. We wouldn't be able to fight dengue. We wouldn't be able to go on a path of sustainable development. So the leadership which I'm speaking to here, you have an special responsibility. And inside of our respective police forces and military, and I don't know much about the military because we don't have an army in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but certainly in relation to the police force, the Coast Guard, and other allied entities, we have to be smarter in doing our work. We have to be better organized. And importantly, we have to weed out the bad eggs inside of the police force, the respective police forces. And we have to be relentless in doing so. We can't be lax on that. And a big problem I notice, I speak to the commissioners in St. Vincent and Grenadines about it. There are too many police officers who don't understand the difference between having a political preference for one or other competing political party and bringing inside of the police force the partisan politics, whether from the government standpoint or from the opposition standpoint. Because you do that in these small societies, you turn in the police force essentially into a political battleground, and which would hamper us. We shouldn't have these self-inflicted wounds, which means that the police officers have to be more professional. And the leaderships in these forces have to be more resolute in addressing these kinds of internal problems. I could highlight, I don't know all the solutions, but it's a conversation which we have going forward to find creative ways so that we can strengthen our law enforcement agencies. But I really thank you for having me. And I know that for those persons in the military, I just want to say this. The people in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and this is part of the humor of campaigns. I know the election campaigns, I know you don't have 5-star generals, you go only as far as 4. But the people have just called me the 5-star general in an election campaign and give me 5 consecutive terms. So I'm an old hand at this. This is why I can talk to you. Some of you, I can talk to you like I'm your father, and many of you, your older brother. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you in your work today.
Prime Minister, thank you very much for your inspiring speech. You have touched on the impact of COVID-19 on the economy, people and drug trafficking, or porous borders, and how it impacts us. New crime trends that create some additional challenges for police, climate change, and the impact on COVID-19 on national and international security. I think it's food for thought for us. And as we, as law enforcement, move forward, that we take these things into consideration. We wish you all success in your endeavors also, and congratulations on your 5th term in office as the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you.
CARICOM, can we have insert, please, as we move on? Good morning. Our next presentation takes the form of a presentation and panel discussion